Hey, I'm going to show you how to install a glass shelf into a shower. So the glass shelf that I bought is just, pretty standard. It's toughened glass, so if it ever breaks again it won't smash into 1,000 pieces, which is something you should look out for as well. When I bought the shelf, I didn't actually know what it would come with, and it was all like shrink wrapped together. But the good thing is that it actually comes with, and I'll just show you. Comes with instructions, obviously, on how to do it and how to put it all together, which is pretty straightforward. But it also comes with mounting for like drywall and plasterboard, as well as plugs for masonry, if you need that as well, if you're going into brick or concrete or something like that. So this is quite a cheap shelf. It's about $80 or so, which is alright considering it is tempered glass. So we're just going to chuck it up and see how it goes. So in order to do it, I bought a 8mm drill bit. How I came to this conclusion is in the actual instructions it says to drill a hole which is about 8mm in circumference. So the reason why I bought a tile drill bit and didn't just use a masonry drill bit is because if you use a masonry drill bit, there's a chance you could crack the tile, and if you use these, then they're a little bit better. They're pretty expensive. This bit costs about $20 by itself, but I think it'll be worth it. So what I've done is, because we have the old mount points for the old bathroom shelf, is we just put something straight between here. We brought the shelf in here, put it in the spot where we want it to be, and marked where we're going to drill. So obviously if you didn't have these mount points, you need to come in here and measure it and make a decision on where it needs to be. But because we have these old points and because these points are level, we're just reusing them pretty much as a guidance. I've got my drill with my 8mm tile bit on the end of it, and I also have a spray water bottle. When I was at the hardware store, the guy said to me that as I was drilling, to keep spraying water on it. Apparently this can help with not having the tiles crack, from what he said, so that's pretty cool. He also said as well that when you do this, not to force it in. If you put lots of power behind it and try and do it like you're in a hurry, you run a real risk of also cracking the tile. So I'm just going to take my time and spray, and once this is done, and I haven't hit any copper pipes or anything, we'll then put the wall anchor in. So let's see how we go. So we're just drilling our hole. I'm hardly even leaning on the drill, I'm just letting it dig. And we're through. Cool. So that's so as you can see, we've just got a hole there, it's 8mm in diameter. So that's really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check to make sure that wall anchor fits in there real quick. So we're just going to get our wall anchor. I'm just going to check to see if that's the right. Perfect. I think that's pretty much. Oh yeah, that's as far as it's meant to go. So as you know, or as most people know, when you tighten these up, it makes this metal come out. So that's what keeps it in the wall. So 8mm is the perfect width as per what the guide said. So that's really good. So we'll just pop the other one in. Just gonna line it up where we had it, which is about there. I'm gonna start drilling. One of the things that I really noticed was, even though this drill bit cost $20, it cut into the tile like I was cutting into wood. I didn't have to tape up or do anything of that type first. I was just able to pretty much just mark on the wall where I wanted to drill and then just start drilling, which was great. It didn't walk or do anything like that. This was a Sutton Tools drill bit, and I'll put a link for it in the video description as well. Anyway, I'll go ahead and make the assumption that you've probably got better things to do than sit there and watch me drill into the tiles in my shower. It took a while because I wasn't pressing on the tiles at all or into the drill at any point. I just wanted to make sure that it would pretty much lead itself in. What I've done is I've hit wood. So I've got a little bit of wood coming out over here. So that means I've hit a stud, which is a good thing. It's a good anchor point for the shelf. So I've just changed to a wood boring drill bit because I don't want to blunt my $20 tile drill. I don't know as much of a difference, but I've got the bit to do it, so I might as well do it. I'm just going to have to be careful though, because obviously if these things hit the outside of the tile, it might end badly, but we should be okay. So I'll just do a little bit more depth, see how we're going for depth. And I need probably about another centimetre or so. So I'm just going to do that. If I hit it, that should be fine. So we're right up against, that's the right depth, which is really cool. So that's the right, so that one there is good to go. And I'll just check this one as well. There was no stud for this one, so that one's good to go as well. Okay, well, let's see how level it is, and let's put it up there. Yeah, deal. So I'm just taking this out as well. So I have here 4 screws, and I think you can have two per point to mount it. But I'm probably never going to have much more than about 8 to 10 kilos on this, and I'm not confident that I could drill a hole that close together into tiles without having a crack in between or something like that. So I'm going to try and just mount it with drilled the holes wrong. It was at this point that I realised that I assumed that the screws would go into the middle of the mounts, when in reality they would go to either side, and I thought I just drilled into my shower for no good reason, and I'd never be able to mount this shelf at all. If I would have paid attention or actually checked what the mounts looked like before I had drilled into the tile, I wouldn't have had to go through this very brief shock. But it ended up being okay, and the screws fit and everything. So that was good, but just make sure if you're doing this to make sure that all your measurements and everything line up, and you measure twice and cut once, as they say. I'm just going to tighten the screws up because I'm happy with how it looks. I'm doing this with a hand-driven screwdriver because I don't want to risk damaging it. And that anchor's pretty solid because that's expanded out in the wall. I'm just gonna give it a little bit more. I'm pretty happy with that. That's got a little bit of play, but not a lot, which is good. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just going to tighten that up until we get it right. That's good. So now I'm just going to tighten the other one up by hand as well. And that's looking pretty good as well. And again, that's got a lot of strength in it, which is good. That's both pretty happy and both pretty true. So we're just going to pop the shelf on and see how it looks. For this particular shelf, there was a little Allen key screw on the bottom of the silver mounting points. You can save yourself a good few minutes of standing in the shower and rattling a shelf up against the side of your shower if you just loosen that off first and then try and put it on. So that's good, but what keeps it in? Does the screw keep it in? Like, what keeps it there? I would soon realise that yes, the bottom screw does indeed keep it in. So, after some brief confusion, it turns out that I had to flatten the little anchor things. So, the old ones look like this. The old ones looked like this, had like a little spiky thing on it. Now, obviously, that's not going to work for tiles, and trying to bang that into tiles, you'll just wreck your tiles. So the instructions say to flatten these things out if you're going into tiles, and that's what we've done. So we're just going to pop these in the wall now. yes, it's a lot flatter, which is cool. Just gonna pop this one out. And I'll pop that out as well. And I'm gonna replace it with our flattened one. And that's perfect, it's a lot better. Cool. So I'm just gonna pop this back in here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just tighten this up a little bit till it gets good. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of tension on it. So it's good. Goodish. And then I'm just gonna use that for my markings. So I can draw a little dot in there and use that to drill a hole. Oh! That sound I just made was me realising that I'd accidentally put the drill into hammer drill mode, and that would not have a happy ending for my tiles. So I put it on normal drill, and then yeah, just kept on drilling, and it was just as easy as the first hole to drill. Done. Cool. So now we'll just do this other one. Because I know that this is a stud, I'll just go for a bit on this bit and then I'll change to the other one. Be on the edge. Cool. Okay, so now I'm just gonna put this next to it. So the tile didn't chip or anything, which is good. I didn't know how it would go with these 2 points being so close together, but I work in computers for a living. I don't do anything to do with this sort of stuff. But that's really good, and that looks good. Cool, alright, so now let's just chuck these on. And it's this way up, is it? Or that way up? That way, isn't it? So, that way for there, and that way for this one. Ultimately, I was glad that I had 2 anchor points because the shelf ended up being really, really stable. And I know that it's not going to come off the wall pretty much no matter how much stuff I put on it or how heavy that shelf gets. So yeah, it's just good for peace of mind. You can tell pretty easily that these 2 points I've drilled on the wall aren't 100% correct. They're not probably entirely level, but these mounting brackets actually make quite a bit of room for final adjustments on the actual bracket itself. So if you don't get it entirely correct, that's okay, because you do have a little bit of play in the bracket themselves, for this particular shelf at least. I've got my 2 screws in there, I've leveled them, and they look pretty good, and the same for this one over here. I haven't tightened them up 100% just yet, but that's there, and that's correct, that's gone on just lovely. Then I just tightened up the screws nice and tight in the wall itself. This is so those metal things would expand into the wall. I really should figure out what they're called if I'm going to keep doing this kind of thing. But yeah, once this was tightened up, the mount points were just rock solid, and I was really happy that I'd had 2 screws in there. Yeah, and the Allen key, which comes in the box, there's a little tiny Allen bolt in the bottom, which I'm going to use to do the final job of fixing this to the wall. This part was probably about as fun as it looks. Obviously using an Allen key right up against the wall, you have to turn it about 170 degrees and then just restart and pull it out and pull it in and do it over and over and over again. Obviously this is important though. How tight you get this will really affect how strong the shelf will be, so I did mine up pretty tight. So I was worried looking at it that he would be able to be affixed to the wall, but that's rock solid. That's yeah, that's great. That's really, really good. So that was really good. It's a couple of things. Probably lessons learned after putting the shelf up. You're probably there, like, if you're watching this and you do a bit of this stuff, you're probably like, surely we don't need a sweaty IT guy to show us how to put shelves in showers. It's pretty simple. But to talk about it briefly, I assumed incorrectly that the mount points for these silver things, for the silver things here, would be in the middle. They're not. They're slightly offset. So I drilled into the middle, and then I put it up there, and I thought, I've stuffed it, it's never going to work. I'm going to have to get new tiles or something. But because of how they're actually offset, it doesn't really matter. I still managed to put it up and mount it just fine. It still looks really professional. It's perfect. I think it's level as well. I should put a level on to be sure. And yeah, so that's all really good. Apart from that, it was pretty easy. I didn't hit any water or anything, which makes sense because my tap's here and there shouldn't be any copper pipes or whatever for that. So so there you have it. You have a little, you have your very own shower shelf. So that's it. It took me about 20 minutes to do it from start to finish, as you can see from the runtime of this video. And that's me clearly with no idea what I'm doing at all. So yeah, so it was pretty easy. If you need to do it, it's a pretty easy task. I just recommend getting the tile bit that you need and making sure it's the right size. Read the instructions, measure it lots, and you should be fine, even if you've never done this before or if you're not generally a handyman at all. Thanks for watching.